Talking Pro Wrestling, it's Jeremy Cook and Anthony Mosca with SV Squared Circle here at the Sports Vision. Yeah, that's right. We didn't get canceled. Welcome to episode 4 of SV Squared Circle. I'm Jeremy Cook, and joining me as always, all the way from the Great White North, is Anthony Mosca. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Out my window, the sun's finally up, so I'm doing great, Jeremy. And you?
Pretty good. My birthday was this past week, so I can't really complain. We got a lot to talk about, though, but before we do, Parkway Drive has a new album coming out September 25th called Ire. They've already released one song off of that album called Vice Grip. It's available now on iTunes. It's on YouTube. I highly recommend to give it a listen. It's a new Parkway, but it's Parkway nonetheless. Before we get started with our actual show, last week we lost a very valued member of the WWE and wrestling family as a whole, Dusty Rhodes. For those who aren't aware or didn't see last week's show or haven't had access to social media, he fell, and complications from the fall included kidney failure. He was 69 years old. We record our shows on Wednesdays, so we had already recorded our episode for last week when this happened, so we couldn't really react to it, and we're going to just talk about him a little bit. I was born in the early 90s, so Dusty Rhodes, for me, was more of an afterthought in the sense that I got to see him after he'd done everything. I wasn't there in the moment with him, but he always just had a way about him, and everyone who's ever talked about him in the wrestling scene just always said they never had anything bad to say about him. Just somebody who was so positive, just loved life. I mean, his quote, basically summing it up, "I've dined with the kings and queens and been in alleys eating pork and beans." That's just who he is. And it's a tragedy. It's hard to believe he's gone. Anthony, you've been a wrestling fan longer than I have. Do you have any memories of watching Dusty or just anything about him that really just sticks out to you?
I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to see Dusty during his time. I'm 25 years old, and I've been watching wrestling for about 21 years. So.
I just turned 23 on Monday, and I've been watching it for maybe seven or 8 years.
I'm watching it for 21 years, and you know what? Like back then, I was still very young. It's hard for me to remember a lot of it. I know I watched Dusty win the WCW or the AWA, I believe it was called the World Championship, and I've seen some of his matches. He was a phenomenal performer. He was able to catch the audience all the time. Every time he would do promos, the audience just loved him. He had a special connection bond with the fans. I never once heard anybody say anything negative about Dusty Rhodes. He definitely touched a lot of people, a lot of careers. He's just a phenomenal person, and it's a huge tragedy to have lost someone at such a young age, especially to kidney failure. So it was a true tragedy, and it hurt me a lot, just like other deaths of other wrestlers.
It goes to show that, life is unexpected, that you think you take something for granted, and, something like this happens. I remember that. I mean, it was last week, so I obviously remember the day. A few things happened with us here at the Sports Vision, very positive things, and then I had a text message from a friend saying that Dusty Rhodes passed away, and Twitter blew up, WWE.com blew up, and you see all these wrestlers, current, former, higher ups. You see Triple H posting photos, Stephanie McMahon when she was what looked to be maybe 12 or 13 years old with a young Dusty Rhodes. Our condolences go out to, Cody and Virgin Runnels, or Dustin Rhodes, I should say. Virgin Runnels is Dusty's real name, but it's just, it's unfortunate, and you'll never see another Dusty Rhodes, and his memory will live on way past anything else. It's just, it's a shame. We're going to end this in a few seconds, but it's just really hard to put into words, just because you don't expect it. I'll compare it to when Eddie Guerrero died. Eddie was an active part of the roster, so maybe it was felt a little bit more in the sense that you had just seen him on, and Dusty was, he was working in NXT. He was about to really become an employee, a trainer down there, and for me, both of them hit me very hard because you see those wrestlers out there, not in character, just out on like the ramp together, and you see guys like Big Show crying. Cena he's pretty emotional. You see Stephanie and Triple H just very mute. Nobody has a smile on their face. You see Natalya crying in the background. These people, despite their feuds, they're for the most part they're family, and that's what I feel when someone leaves a member, or my bad, leaves this world, is just you lose a family member in a sense when you're really connected with the WWE.
I would even say as much as Dusty Rhodes is a family member for most of these people. Growing up, being in the business for like 10 years, you really get that attachment to people. I mean, us as fans, I cried. Not gonna lie, I cried when Eddie Guerrero passed away. I know what they've also done in their personal lives. On a note to Dusty Rhodes, whoever's listening to this, go on YouTube, go on any website you can. I would recommend to watch Dusty Rhodes versus Harley Race.
That was a great match.
Title.
That was a great match,
and I actually believe that's when Dusty first won the World Heavyweight title, or the WCW. I don't know what they called it at the time, but I believe that's when he first won the championship, and you could just see the emotions to anybody, Miz, Randy, Cena, anybody that wins a title for the first time. You see the emotions. They finally made it, and the crowd explodes. Dusty explodes. It's just such a great match, and it's just a nice moment to see Dusty again at his prime. So I just recommend to anybody to watch that.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. We have a lot to talk about. Money in the Bank was this past weekend, and well, this is usually the part where we talk about who won between us in the pay-per-view wars. We both did so terribly. We are not only are we not counting this one, I'm hitting the gong. I mean, this was just... I was at a poker tournament, I wasn't watching it live, and I get a message from Anthony saying, wow, we're both 0-4. And I couldn't believe it because I thought there were at least 4 or 5 matches that you couldn't get wrong. So when I get home and I begin watching it, the first thing I message him is, how are we going to come onto this show and one of us is going to brag about getting more right than the other, when I think in total we may have gotten half the card right, maybe a little bit more. So we're not going to count this one. I will say that if we did, Anthony would have won, because the tiebreaker was Owen Cena. We both chose different parts of that match. Every other match, I believe we chose the same outcome. So we're going to just talk about each match a little bit. We're going to go from what I feel is the, bottom to the top. We're going to start off with the Intercontinental Championship match. Not only did this match not really have a lot of potential, but it just wasn't good. Usually you get something where, there's a moment or two in a match. You can say, okay, there's something there, but no. I mean, this match shouldn't have happened. This match just really was... I'd call it a match. It was... Oh, wow. I mean, I'm losing words right here just because I can't believe you get a guy like Ryback, you put him with the title, his first title in WWE, and you put him with the Big Show, and you don't even have a match that ends in a clean way? I mean, he lost the match by disqualification. What do you think about this half-assed match?
Okay, I'm going to say this right now, right from the start. Money in the Bank was a subpar pay-per-view. This was one of the matches that kind of boiled my blood. It's Ryback's first title defense, like you said. At least make the guy win. It's his first title defense. He's recovering from, in my opinion, a burial from many years ago. He's doing well. He's getting so over with the fans, and then you throw him this match, which he loses. and loses to a stupidity of an outside interference, and it's not even Ryback getting attacked, it's the Big Show. And that just makes me wonder what's going to happen with this feud, if they're even going to bother really continuing it, which we kind of saw hints on Raw that they kind of still are, but
I believe they're going to put The Miz into it, but I agree with you. It's a mess, because, okay, look, when you gave Daniel Bryan and John Cena the Intercontinental and U.S. titles respectively, you did it with the goal of raising the value of each belt. Unfortunately, Daniel Bryan gets hurt, and you have the Elimination Chamber match for the title, which is completely fine. No one's going to tell you not to do that, but you have to have a plan for whoever wins it. You know, this is why when I did my WrestleMania predictions before we even started the show, I wanted Dean Ambrose to win it because I wasn't sure if Bryan could stay healthy. I mean, Dean Ambrose, look at him right now. We're going to talk about him later on in the show because of his ladder match with Seth Rollins, and just so much went on in that match, and it was a great match, but a lot of it was just that you were stunned at what Dean Ambrose was doing. And you give a guy like that the Intercontinental belt. I mean, you saw, like, Anthony, you've alluded to this, they tested him out with the championship belt for the last 2 weeks. Fans were going crazy. You give him an Intercontinental belt. I believe he's still holding that belt right now. Regardless if he's in a feud with Rollins or not, you gotta have a plan. Like, Cena and Owens are going to fight for the U.S. title. That is a plan. You built it up phenomenally, I might add. This one, I feel like you just literally are saying, here's Big Show until we figure out what you're going to do, and just in case that ends early, here's The Miz on top of that. And we're going to move on, just because we were both wrong in this match, technically, by the way. We both said Ryback, and Big Show won by disqualification. So, I mean, what are we going to do? It's also worth mentioning, I just realized that we didn't talk about the pre-show match. I actually never watched it. R-Truth beating Barrett, which we both got wrong also. I don't know why WWE went with this decision. They're going to make a rivalry out of this. I saw part of it on Raw.
And I believe also last week we were even saying that it just doesn't make sense. The amount of losses Barrett is just accumulating after he won the King of the Ring.
King Barrett doesn't have a win to save his life. Anyway, we're going to move on. A match that, you know, in my opinion, Anthony says this was a subpar pay-per-view. I tend to think it was a little better than that, just because we got some matches that were good, but aren't going to be perceived that way. For example, I'm not going to talk about the tag team title match yet. I do have issues with that match. The Divas match was something, at first, it looked good, and then they carried it out. And what I mean by that is, the match should have ended 5 minutes earlier. It was about a 10 to 12 minute match. I want to say maybe 8 minutes. It felt like 10 to 12. And I felt like that because hit big move, hit big move, hit big move, 2-2-2. Now, that's not a problem at all, but you need to be able to follow it up. You can't keep doing the same moves back and forth, or it's going to get boring really quickly. And that's what happened. 2 count, 2 count, 2 count. I'm saying to myself, they need to end this match. This is a problem. And, you know, the way it ended, Brie coming in, hey look, I stuffed. And then Nikki coming in for the pin. Yep. Yep, that's all I have to say on that match. Anthony, please take over. Please. Please.
You kind of really summed it up. There's not much to say. I did notice, I was actually a bit happy in the match for the fact that you had divas landing their finishers and seeing the other diva kick out, which you don't really see nowadays. Like, half the time you see like a random heel kick or a random spin kick, and it's a 1-2-3. It's like, that's not even your finisher.
That is the one thing I like about diva matches. Sorry to cut you off. They always add, you can end the match at almost any time. You don't really see that with the male competitors or the superstars. It always has to be like a finisher, or in some cases a cradle up pin. Like, because some moves really hurt. Like, we'll get into that later on. But yeah,
I was a bit happy that they added that factor into the matchup. However, like I mentioned about the pay-per-view card, the ending of the match really grinded me. Even though I believe we both might have said Nikki as the winner, it just really grinded me. Because, like, I didn't care who really won. I did care, however, how it landed. Like, Brie getting pinned and then showing the referee that she stuffed her bra and she showed off her tattoo that Nikki doesn't have. And then the referee restarts the match.
JBS said it himself. That should be a disqualification somewhere.
That should have been a disqualification. You had a person, an outside interference touch Paige. Right there, that's a DQ. Now you're making her restart the match without even letting Paige be aware of her opponents. Like, restart the match and then was clobbed and then her rack attack.
Speaking of pay-per-view, did you view the paper that Brie was pulling out? Do you see what I did there, fans? We're not getting canceled yet. That was a good joke. Not really, but we're gonna.
It was clever.
We're gonna move on.
You know what I find clever? How Nikki's finisher is called the rack attack.
I was actually about to bring that up because not for that reason, of course, because it looks painful. It actually does, and I hated how JBL did this during the show when Nikki was wrestling. He said hit Paige with the bionic elbow, which is, of course, Dusty Rhodes' finishing maneuver. She used her forearm. We're going to talk about something I feel we should talk about with Dusty later on. Before we get to our next match, check us out online, thesportsvision.co. You can also check us out on Twitter at thesportsvision, Facebook, thesportsvision, everything, every sport you ever wanted. We even have a few other topics, such as sports you should know, or Total Bust Thursdays. Anything you want. There's always some humor in there. Give us a check out. That's great. I'm probably going to get canceled for that. Check us out. Anyway, the next match we're going to talk about is the Tag Team Championship match between Primetime Players and New Day members Xavier Woods and Big E. And before we get into the match itself, this match was 6 minutes long. Kofi was not at ringside because of the Money in the Bank ladder match, which we'll get to next. But, man, I'm happy with the result. I'm upset with how it ended. For those who aren't aware, we have new tag team champions. And, you know, I'm very happy about that. The Primetime Players, who we both actually talked about in the past, saying they deserve a title run. I think I specifically said they weren't going to get it this pay-per-view, which I'm happy I was wrong about. But the way it ended, you know, I'm always a fan of tag team championship matches. If they're going to at least switch hands, I'm always a fan of both members being involved. Big E launched himself outside of the ring, taking at Darren Young, and Big E looked hurt. Someone was yelling outside. Someone looked hurt. And then Titus O'Neil hits this really weird, like, spinebuster powerbomb thing that looked like it didn't hurt at all. And he picked up the pin. I was shocked when he picked up the pin. The only reason I wasn't completely surprised was because my stupid phone gave me updates when I wasn't watching it. So I knew how it was going to end, but I didn't know when it was going to end. What do you, Anthony? What do you think about the match? What do you think about our new tag team champions? And what do you think about the direction New Day is going to go in now? Because as we're going to get to later on with Raw and SmackDown, it doesn't look like they're going to be in the tag team picture for as far as the titles are concerned.
I was very, very stunned when New Day lost the tag team championship. Not because I don't like their gimmick. I like their gimmick a lot. They're doing it perfectly. But I just didn't think they were going to lose so soon. Their gimmick is...
It was just picking up steam.
It's attracting so much attention. Everyone hates them, but loves to hate them, I mean.
I was about to say, if you said everyone loves New Day, I'm going to cancel the show for us.
No, I mean, like, they love to hate them. But when I saw Titus nail his finisher, which is actually called Clash of the Titus...
is that really? I didn't even know that was his finisher.
Yeah, it's like a weird kind of 360 spine buster.
It's terrible. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not that great.
You have a former NFL player. You have a former NFL.
I jumped up.
You have a former NFL athlete. He can do more than that, especially one who looks and is as strong as Titus O'Neil. I'm pretty sure you should come up with something a little more innovative. Just throwing that out there.
And a better name.
Clash of the Titus, rated PG-13, starring Liam Neeson.
I assume it's Clash of the Titus. When he had this feud with Darren Young, and he nailed that move. They called it Clash of the Titus. I assume they kept the name. But yes, I agree that if you're winning the tag team championship, especially if it's your first tag team title win, your partner should be there with you. And I know Darren Young tried to get in the ring as soon as possible so they could celebrate together. It still should have been like a monumental, like they should have been together thing. It's their first ever championship win. Honestly, kudos to them. I think we both got that one wrong, but I was ecstatic to see PTP as our new tag team champions from my point of view.
We were both. I think we were both wrong on that. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be a common theme this episode. We're gonna move on to what used to be one of my favorite matches of the year, the Money in the Bank ladder match. I will start off by saying we were both wrong, and I'm happy we were both wrong for two reasons. One, Sheamus won, and it makes sense. And I was doing the same thing you're doing right now. It is just I don't really agree, but there's a way that WWE does things, and when you see their winners, with the exception of Sandow, you see how it's going to play out. There's been some dissension between Seth Rollins and the Authority. That will be talked about in a few weeks. And we'll talk about it a little bit today because of Monday Night Raw. But when you give a heel something like the Money in the Bank contract, especially one like Sheamus, who is big, he's intimidating, and they brought him back as a heel who's big and intimidating and bullies, quote unquote. He's not going to cash it in anytime soon. He has a movie coming out, I think in June. Next June. I think it was you who I had this talk with.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said that he's going to cash it in around that time. Right when they start advertising or they reveal trailers for it. Which makes sense. Even a little bit before then. So they say, oh look, it's the heavyweight champion and he's in this movie. But I kind of like it because with the whole WWE World Heavyweight Championship feud going on right now, you needed to throw something in there to really, and by something I don't mean Roman Reigns, you needed to throw something in there that really made people say, whoa, we didn't see this coming. And I don't think anybody saw this coming, because everything was pointing to Roman Reigns. The betting odds were pointing to Roman Reigns. I told you this the day of, I thought they were going to throw Lesnar in there, because there were only 7 competitors, and they usually have 8. And then you see Sheamus win it, and it's interesting. I'm surprised he didn't cash it in later on that night, to be honest. But, that it is what it is. The match itself was very subpar. The match itself just didn't bring me in. Kofi Kingston didn't do anything in the match, which disappointed me because you put a tag team champion in there. At the very least you can have him do is, anything. I will say though, it was so funny watching him get crushed underneath that ladder twice.
That was a pretty funny moment.
Yeah. Randy Orton RKOing everybody was pretty cool. Neville had some cool moments, but this match was just very. It wasn't the best ladder match of the night, and it wasn't even close. What do you think?
No, not at all.
What do you think about not only the winner? What do you think about the match? Just because certain people they didn't have a spot in there.
Yeah, I feel like names like Ziggler didn't even have a part or a big role in the match at all.
An extent, but the guys like Kane, he did have 1 or 2 parts, but Kofi Kingston did almost nothing. Roman Reigns, for the most part, did almost nothing.
Yeah, just at the end of the match, he teased he was going to win, climbed the ladder.
And then Bray Wyatt, which I did not see coming, by the way. I didn't see that coming.
No, I thought the match was over there.
Because when I got the update,
the match was over there.
I got the update, it said Sheamus wins. It didn't tell me what happened. So I see Reigns climbing, I'm like, does the Authority come in? Like, what happens? And then the lights go out, I'm like, really? Is he just like, because Bray Wyatt did this with Ambrose at last year's Elimination Ambrose, when did he did it to Cena last year at Elimination Chamber? He did it.
I think it was Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, he did it. He basically when Ambrose was about to win against Rollins or whatever. But the point is, This match could have been so much better. Even the winner, Sheamus, didn't have that much to do in this match. I mean, it felt like it was carried out. We're gonna move on. Just this could have been a lot better. But we're getting to the two matches that I want to talk about, and that's why I'm giving my thumbs up to both of them. We're gonna start off with the ladder match between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and wow. You messaged me before I even got to watch anything. You're just like, amazing ladder match, absolutely amazing. And I watched it, and for the first 10 minutes, I'm saying, I'm not being drawn in what's so amazing. And then they start really going at it. They made Dean Ambrose look like he was indestructible. And then you hear JBL saying he's not human. JBL, the guy who's been doing nothing but bashing Dean Ambrose, gives him all the props in the world after the match. These two put on a show. They put on an absolute show. Great ending, because it doesn't make Ambrose look weak at all. You know, you're a fingertip away, and he went one step beyond that. He had his hand on it, and happened to fall off with Rollins, and Rollins happened to take the belt. They left it all out there. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't even the best match of the night. What do you think about the match? I know you didn't like the finish, but overall the match, what do you think about just how they performed, how they didn't steal the show, but they tried to?
I think the match was absolutely fantastic. The match was crazy. Maybe could have used some blood, I'm just saying. In terms of where I want to, say,
are you saying they should have used blood in the PG era?
I'm saying they should have used blood in the PG era. The match was great. As for the finish, you know what? After you and I spoke about it a few times, I finally see it now. Just thinking about, and I have the WWE Network for this, so I see a few WCW matches. And you know what? It is true. If an item does fall, the first person to pick it up is technically the winner. So yes, Rollins and Ambrose did fall off the ladder with the title. Rollins kept his hands on it, as Ambrose did let it go on impact. So yes, technically Rollins does retain the title. So it all does make sense to me. But at first, I completely hated that ending. I couldn't even tell you how much I disliked it.
It sounds more and more like the more they tease Ambrose winning the title, you seem to get more and more irritated, despite the fact that we've chosen Rollins both times to retain.
It's just, I feel like I'm for the fans, because I am a fan, just like how everyone else listening is a fan. The fans want to see Ambrose as champion. What you've been doing lately to Ambrose is just, I feel, burying the guy after pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view.
I disagree with you there. I don't think they're burying him. If they wanted to bury him, they'd have him lose with outside interference. They'd have him lose due to, him not being able to compensate for everything. Going, in essence, Super Ambrose. And I'll say it because, there's no such thing as Super Ambrose, but you know what I'm trying to get to when I say super.
Yeah.
The guy is just, he's all that, and I think this is more of a test for him than it is for Rollins. Because, when the Shield first came in, who was the first person that everybody, you and I included, said was going to be ready? Actually, no, I think you said Rollins was going to be the first one ready. I said, I don't know, actually. Because I remember a lot of people, including myself, saying Ambrose, but I remember you and I having talks saying that you liked Rollins a lot.
Yeah, I remember saying I liked Rollins a lot. I remember you telling me that Ambrose was amazing. And I remember watching a lot of their FCW matches and listening to them in FCW, watching their matches in FCW. I was 100% aboard the Ambrose train, but something just attracted me more to Rollins. He was just more athletic, you could say, but not more athletic, because Ambrose is just as great as Rollins. Don't nobody hate me there. They're both on their own type of level, but something just attracted me more to Rollins. I just got more of that HBK, CM Punk kind of feel from Rollins, even though I see the more
CM Punk is way ahead of Seth Rollins. CM Punk is his own entity, and so is Shawn Michaels.
Oh yeah, of course, with no doubt. But I feel that Rollins could become maybe one day,
No,
because he's too much of a rookie now. But maybe one day in that league.
You can't do it on the mic like Punk. He can't sell like Shawn Michaels, and it's just a different era. It's harder to make a name for yourself unless you are like
one of them.
The people in our next match. Nice segue over there. Kevin Owens and John Cena, and it's very rare that you see a sequel that is even close to being on the same level or better than the original. We're both big Star Wars fans. I like Episode 3 of Star Wars, but Episodes 2 and 1, not even close to the originals. Episode 3 isn't that close to the originals. It's the closest thing because it was so well done, but the originals are just on a league of their own, like on a league all their own. This match is the exception to that rule. I said last week or 2 weeks ago, you can check it out on our site. You're on it right now listening to this, or you're on YouTube. Go to sportsvision.co, or thesportsvision.co, excuse me. Click on Feed, WWE. Check out episode 2, I believe, of SV Squared Circle, where I say, and I quote, I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to know what the match of the year is going to be if it isn't Owens Cena 1, because I don't want to have the surprise ruined. And I didn't think it'd be this close, and I didn't think it'd be Owens Cena 2. This match was absolutely phenomenal. This match was just... I didn't think they could do anything close to what they did the first time, and I'm getting chills talking about it right now just because you saw things from Owens and Cena you never saw. Cena, a head scissors. Cena used a head scissors. I mean, what? A Canadian Destroyer variation, which, when he first got him in that weird position, I'm saying, there's no way they're going to do what I think they're going to do. And then they did it.
That's funny you say that, because I was thinking, when I saw that position, the only thing I was thinking...
Package pile driver?
No, I was actually... This is funny. I was actually thinking, I'm like, oh, come on, Cena. Did you really just botch a move? And then Cena just landed that 360 like Canadian Destroyer, and when the expression "you silence the critics,"
yeah,
well, Cena just silenced me right there. I thought it was a botch, and then my mouth just dropped to the floor.
The match was just so good. I'm just gonna get to the end part of it so we can get back to the middle of it. This part I did not like. We both thought that this might happen, but not with the ending the way it was. You said Cena wins. I would say Owens would win. Because I just thought that they would build this differently. But you were right, and I was right in the way that they kept Owens strong. Cena wins the match after just a fantastic match. We're going to talk about this for a good while. But Owens is getting up. Cena's talking to him, saying, "Look, you deserve this. You belong here." Blah 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 blah. Shakes his hand, and I thought Owens was just going to walk out of the ring, and he shakes his hand. And then I'm saying to myself, this can't be the end of the feud. Something's got to happen. And then, sure enough, Owens kicks him and powerbombs him on the outside on the apron, similar to Sami Zayn. Now, it's just, it's just a side note. He does have a match with Samoa Joe tonight. Like I said, we record on Wednesdays, so we're going to talk about that next week. So we don't know how that led up into this. We won't know till later on. But, I mean, they kept him strong. Cena wasn't on Raw the next night, and they sold a few injuries, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, not a big fan of how it ended. I mean, it made him look strong, all that. But at the same time, it builds the heel character, but it builds it in the wrong way, I feel. Not having respect is one thing. Not having respect after you two put on not one, but 2 great matches. I mean, they could have built it just a little bit better. He could have shaken his hand, begin walking out, and then Cena could have turned him around, and then Owens could have done it, Like, don't do it with the handshake still there. Anyway, back to the actual core of the match. So many moments. The 5-knuckle shuffle by Owens. Oh, that was great.
That was a moment on its own. When I saw Owens doing the five knuckle shuffle to Cena, like, you already know I'm not a big Cena fan. Everyone.
This
that's
match
listening to our
changed that a
podcast-
little bit, though. We were talking earlier. You said that you didn't know that Cena could do this.
I did not expect Cena to do half the moves in the match.
By
I know
the
Cena
way,
did-
sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off for a second. Kevin Owens was on, I forget what radio show it was, but he says that John Cena, if for anyone who says he can't wrestle, he looks at you and just says you don't know what you're talking about. Just because the guy's been there for so long, if he wasn't a wrestler, he wouldn't be there for the longevity that he's had. And he wouldn't have had the longevity that he had. That's my bad. But I didn't expect half the stuff I saw from Cena either. You were saying?
I just kind of forgot what I was about to say, to be honest. But yes, there was moments of the match Cena was just dropping moves. Like I laughed when Cena did the Cena Karana, which is the Hurricane Rana. But some
Did you
people
really just make that up on
online-
the fly? The Cena Kanrana? I'm gonging. Don't. That was
Well,
just.
I mean, it is John Cena. You gotta give like his own names to some of his moves. But yeah, Kevin Owens doing the five
So
knuckle shuffle.
there's the Cena drop. There's the the Cena shoulder thrust. Oh, here's one. The Cena drop. No,
the Cena Karana.
the Cena
it-
bathroom break. No. But you were saying
For
about
me,
the
yes.
match itself.
For me, yes. Yeah, normally that's it. Another thing, a joke you just threw in there, bathroom break. It may be a joke to you, but a lot of times when I watch John Cena, I'm just like, oh man, here we go. It's going to be the same moves over and over and over. And with Cena's injury, which I'm not blaming him, this is not even at
SummerSlam.
fault. Was it SummerSlam?
It
when he
was
hurt his
SummerSlam
neck?
against Batista.
Yeah. It's not Batista's fault. It's not Cena's fault. It happens.
It was just where they were in the ring. Injuries will happen.
He hit his neck on the hard part of the mat. It was a freakish thing, which, you know what, to me it's why Cena can't do some of his more creative moves. But this match, all I can say is Cena really turned me into not a Cena fan, which I never think I will be, but he made me a believer.
A
that he
believer?
made me a believer that he could actually wrestle, and I'm happy that he did those moves. I cannot wait for Cena versus Owens 3, which
Don't
I
even
don't even know.
Don't even get me started on.
It just gets me excited thinking about
both
it.
said. Well, I don't know if you said it to the extent I did, or if you've said it. I didn't know what to expect going into Cena Owens 2. I did not expect the match we got. That was beyond phenomenal. I would say that I don't think they could live up to it at Cena vs Owens 3, which I believe will be for the U.S. title, but I can't say that because they put on two amazing matches. The second one's better than the first one. This is just. And there were different matches. Owens used the moonsault in the first one. He didn't use. Did he use the moonsault here? He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he used the moonsault also.
I was about to say he didn't, but then I remember one part where Cena we move out of the way on both of them. Powerbomb
So
variants,
he caught him in the
senton variants, Cena the inverted suplex. By the way, that suplex, that's pure strength on Cena, and that puts a lot of strain on his upper body, which, I didn't know that they would let him do that, because if he goes down right now, WWE is in a lot of trouble. They would the ratings would go even lower than they usually are right now, which, well, we're going to end the topic there. We're going to bring it to Raw. We're going to just touch on this for a little bit. Actually, before we get to Raw, this is something I did mention earlier with the late Dusty Rhodes. I hope and I pray that this is the end of the Stardust era. Look, I've been saying this since Money in the Bank, where Sandow won. Cody Rhodes has deserved a world title run for quite some time. Ever since Legacy, where I couldn't stop gushing over him and DiBiase, how much they had improved and how much they had grown. And it's just, when you see him going in as Stardust, it for me was a slap in the face, just saying, you know what, we recognize your talent, but there's just no room for you. He's going to get a push of some sort. I don't know when he'll be back. I don't expect him to be back for at least a few weeks, maybe even a little longer. I hope that we see Cody Rhodes and not Stardust, and it wouldn't even shock me a little bit if we saw Dustin Rhodes, at least for a little bit, because they're going to acknowledge that what happened with their father. It's going to be made not into a storyline, but people are going to feel sympathy for them, as they should. That's why we're talking about. That's why we're talking about this right now. Cody Rhodes has so much talent. He has mic skills. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He brought back the old belt for crying out loud, and he was good. He was over as a heel. He can get over as a face too. I mean, I don't know what they would do. I just really hope, at the very least, Stardust is a thing of the past, and I think that's safe. I think we can assume that is going to be the case, just because the Stardust gimmick ended with him yelling at his father, saying that Cody is dead, and it's a gimmick and all that, and for them it might be different because they're professionals with this. For everybody else watching, that's kind of a hard thing. That's kind of a hard lasting television image to have of him. I believe that was the last time we saw him on television, and we're gonna move on from that.
One more thing. I know you mentioned about the Stardust gimmick. As I do believe they should kill off that gimmick and go back to Cody Rhodes. We got to keep in mind that WWE. This isn't really a spoiler. WWE has been heavily teasing it. They wanted to do an angle of Stephen Amell, which is known as Arrow on the show Arrow. They want to do an angle of Stardust versus Stephen Amell. So I really hope that WWE does do that angle.
He posted on Twitter that. Sorry to cut you off. Stephen Amell posted on Twitter. He acknowledged the passing of Dusty Rhodes. He acknowledged sent his condolences to both Cody and Dustin. I can't see them keeping that angle alive. This isn't just another wrestler. This is a guy who Ric Flair refers to as his mentor.
So if that's the case, I'm all aboard scrapping the whole Stardust angle, Stardust character, Stardust whatever you want to say, and just put him back as Cody Rhodes, put him back as a Rhodes.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I think they just introduce him back as Cody first, and then you see where he can go. We're gonna talk about Raw for the last few minutes of the show. We're gonna just talk about what was important. We saw more dissension between the Authority and Seth Rollins. It's to the point where J&J are no longer with Rollins. I think that's just safe to say that they are now an Authority entity, not a Rollins entity. At the end of the night, we got what I think we all wanted to see. They announced his opponent for Battlegrounds, and cue Brock Lesnar's music, and I was so happy. I mean, I was waiting for it. I'm like, please let it be Lesnar. Please let it be Lesnar. And when it was, you saw Rollins just look at Triple H, and Triple H and Stephanie have that look of, well, they had this long speech basically before saying, you make an investment and you do what you can to make it last and to make it really prosper. But at the end of the day, you need to look and say, is this something we can really stay with? Is this something we can really depend on? The answer is no. The answer is a clear no. It's going to lead up into a few things. We're not going to talk about that. But, this is a time where WWE can really do something, because their ratings have been down with Rollins as champion. Not saying anything against Rollins, but he's not a Lesnar. He's not a Cena. He's not an Orton. He's not Triple H, in the sense that he will bring ratings with him. He won't do that. Cena will do that. Brock Lesnar did that when he was champion. Even when he wasn't there, the ratings were better than they are now. And it's going to be cool seeing how they bring the whole Lesnar back. What do you think about this? Because I know that you just gave me the look of like, what are you not what are you talking about, but just why you got to bring it up like that kind of thing.
Well, It's not anything like that. Like I will always believe that Rollins could definitely be big. I'm not gonna say draw money because in terms of drawing money, drawing ratings, which ratings will always forever be known as money. I think Brock Lesnar, John Cena, CM Punk, guys like these guys.
Paul Heyman.
The list goes on. You and I both know we could just name people on and on. These guys draw money.
And
these guys draw ratings.
Sorry to cut you off for a second.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot this show, apparently. Should get a counter for that for next show. But when we're saying drawing money, we're not just talking about TV views. We're talking about filling stadiums. We're talking about filling arenas, live shows. Lesnar doesn't do live shows, but the point is, when you have a guy like that as your world champion, because the world champion, the authority gets this right, is the face of your company, except the fact that John Cena is the face of your company right now. But when you have a guy who's recognized, when you had The Rock carrying that belt, you had ratings that were great because he's The Rock. If you brought back Austin and he held the belt, your ratings would be great because he's Austin. You don't have it. Even Cena, you like him or you hate him, but you watch because he's the champion. You want to see what happens. We're gonna end it. We're gonna end it there. This has been a weird episode just because in the back of my mind the entire show, Dusty has just been. It's unfortunate. But the show must go on as he'd like it to go. I mean, he doesn't, not us in particular. If he knew us, that'd be fantastic. But just wrestling as a whole, we will move on. But you'll always be in our memory, Dusty. Until next time, you can check us out online. It's thesportsvision.co. We're going to try to get our podcasts up on iTunes, so I'll let you know if that happens. You can follow me on Twitter for those updates at Jeremy_Cook. I'll put the Twitter handle at the top of the video on the page. Until next time, I am Jeremy Cook.
And I'm Anthony Moscow.
Thank you for watching. Rest in peace, Dusty.